You're lucky I said yes. I had better options. I didn't even look up. But inside, something broke. I was in the kitchen, finishing the dishes from dinner. She was on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she always did after we ate. It had been a long day at work, and I was looking forward to just relaxing with her, maybe watching something together. But that sentence cut through the room like a scalpel. I'm sorry, what? I said, turning around, dish towel still in my hands. She didn't even blink. I had better options, but I figured you were a safe bet. That moment, that exact moment, is when everything changed. I stood there, frozen, watching her scroll like she hadn't just casually detonated 3 years of what I thought was love. My whole body was still. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet. It was hollow, a vacuum, safe bet, like I was some kind of backup plan, like I wasn't a man she chose but a plan B she settled for. I just stood there, towel still in hand, staring at her. She didn't notice or didn't care. That part still hurts, even now. I took a step closer. Safe how? This time she looked up. That's when I saw it, the smirk. Not quite cruel, but smug. The face of someone who thinks they hold all the power in the room. Safe like, you're not going anywhere, you're stable, predictable, you won't cheat or leave me for someone younger. You're the kind of guy a woman can build a life with, even if she could have had someone more exciting. Then she went right back to her phone. It hit me all at once. The cold, ugly truth. I wasn't her fiancé. I wasn't her partner. I was her safety net, her emotional insurance policy, the nice guy who would stick around while she flirted with the idea of better. In that moment, I saw our entire relationship in reverse, like a reel of film unspooling in my mind. The subtle digs, the comparisons to her friends' lives, the lukewarm affection. It all made sense now. I wasn't her dream man. I was her compromise. And the worst part? I had known. Deep down, I'd known for months, maybe even years. But I didn't want to believe it. I'd worked hard to make this relationship work. I'd planned our future. I thought love was about weathering storms, being patient, giving your partner grace. But this wasn't a storm. This was her showing me who she really was. I stood there, no longer angry, just awake. Wide awake. Because the second she said those words, something inside me clicked. If you've ever been made to feel like you were lucky just to be tolerated, if someone ever convinced you that you were the safe choice instead of the right one, then stick around. Because what I did next wasn't impulsive. It wasn't dramatic. It was deliberate, strategic, and designed to make sure I'd never be disrespected like that again. That moment in the kitchen wasn't the end of the relationship, not technically. But it was the end of me begging for her approval. It was the end of me being grateful just to be picked. It was the beginning of something else entirely, something better. Me. Absolutely. Let's dive into. Week 1, the echo. After that night, her words haunted me. You're lucky I said yes. I had better options. They echoed in my head as I sat in my car after work, hands still on the steering wheel, engine off, just staring out at nothing. For 3 years, I thought I had something real, something solid. I believed that what we had was built on mutual respect and love. But now I saw what it really was. Gratitude on one side, entitlement on the other. And I was the one doing all the thanking. That night, I didn't confront her. I didn't start a fight or demand an apology. I just observed. I watched how effortlessly she moved around the apartment, humming as she brushed her teeth, sending voice notes to her friend, planning her weekend. Meanwhile, I was in the other room, heart pounding, a part of me still trying to rationalize what she said. She didn't mean it like that. She was just tired. She jokes like that sometimes, but deep down, I knew she'd meant every word. Week 2, the party flashback. That week, I kept flashing back to a moment early in our relationship. It was Sarah's birthday, her best friend. We'd been dating for 6 months. Sarah had just gotten engaged to some guy in finance, the kind of guy with a Rolex, a condo in the city, and a big personality. He made sure everyone saw the ring he'd bought her. I remembered standing next to my girlfriend, now fiancée, as Sarah showed off her hand. Wow, I said. That's beautiful. Without missing a beat, she looked at the ring, then at me, and said, yeah, some girls get the fairy tale. She didn't say it like a compliment to Sarah. She said it like a jab aimed at me. At the time, I smiled awkwardly. I told myself she was just making conversation. Maybe she was feeling insecure, maybe she needed reassurance, but I didn't push back. I let it slide, and that was the problem. Every time she chipped away at my worth, I rationalized it. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, and in doing so, I quietly trained her to see me as a man who would always take it. Week 3, performing for approval. I started noticing the pattern in everything we did. Every date, every dinner, every gift I gave, it all felt like an audition. I was constantly trying to prove I was good enough to be kept. Not loved, kept. It was like I was competing in a game where the rules constantly changed. I'd buy her something thoughtful, and she'd ask how much I spent. I'd plan a date, and she'd compare it to what her friend's boyfriend did. I remembered our first Christmas together. I'd saved for months to buy her a necklace I knew she'd love. Nothing outrageous, but elegant. I wrapped it carefully, even added a handwritten note about how much she meant to me. She opened it, looked at it for a second, then asked, "How much was this?" I told her. She nodded slowly, then said, "You don't have to spend so much on me. Save your money." I thought she was being considerate. Now I realized that was disappointment. She wanted something flashier, something she could post, something that would make her friends say, "Wow." It wasn't about the gift, it was about how the gift made her look. Week 4, the proposal. Even the proposal, the moment that should have been sacred, was a performance she judged. I proposed at the same park where we had our first date. I had a photographer waiting, flowers, everything planned. The ring was beautiful. It wasn't massive, but it was elegant and ethically sourced. It fit my income as a mid-level software engineer. Not flashy, but meaningful. She smiled. Said yes. But as we posed for the photos, I saw her glance down at the ring with a tight smile. Later that night, she said, "It's smaller than Jessica's." Jessica, her college roommate who married a plastic surgeon. That one comment stuck with me longer than the yes she said when I proposed. And I started noticing she didn't wear the ring in half the photos she posted afterward, or she'd crop her hand out. She never once tagged me. I should have known. Week 5. The comparisons, her compliments for other men came so casually, so frequently. It was like she wanted me to feel less than. Mark from work is already making 6 figures. Brad took Emma to Santorini. Tom just bought a Tesla. Must be nice. At first I thought she was just talking. Now I realized she was comparing. Measuring me against her internal fantasy. I was a mirror for her disappointment, and she made sure I knew I wasn't stacking up. But the truth is, I wasn't supposed to measure up. She didn't want me. She wanted the idea of a man who'd make her friends jealous. A man who could elevate her status. And I wasn't that guy. I was the guy who showed up every day, who listened, who supported her through job losses and panic attacks. I was the guy who stayed up till 2 a.m., helping her prep for job interviews, and drove her mom to the hospital when she had a scare. But none of that counted, because none of it was Instagrammable. Week 6. The mirror. One night I found myself staring in the bathroom mirror, toothbrush in hand, barely moving. I didn't recognize the man staring back at me. There was a heaviness in my eyes, like I was walking through life underwater, like I had shrunk into someone I no longer respected. Not because of her, but because I had allowed myself to stay. I used to be proud of who I was. Now I was quietly afraid I'd become invisible. To her, and worse, to myself. That was the night something changed. I didn't say anything out loud, but I decided, no more. Great, let's move into Week 7. Quiet withdrawal begins. I didn't start a fight. I didn't make a dramatic speech. I just stopped giving her my emotional energy. That Friday, she made one of her usual digs, something about how Emma's boyfriend surprised her with a designer bag. I just smiled politely and said, "Nice for them," then went back to stirring my coffee. I didn't ask what kind of bag, didn't engage, didn't give her the reaction she was fishing for. She noticed. Her brow twitched, just a bit, like a machine short-circuiting. That was the first time she realized something was off. Week 8. Reclaiming time. For months, my evenings were centered around her routine, her shows, her takeout orders, her moods. Now, I changed mine. I joined a boxing gym. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, I was out of the house by 6:30 p.m. She'd ask, "You're going again?" with a curious tone. I'd just nod. Yup. I didn't ask if she wanted to come. Didn't explain why. I wasn't trying to get a reaction. This wasn't a tactic. It was a return to self. And with every jab and every push-up, I started remembering the version of me that didn't live for someone else's validation. Week 9. Financial recalibration. Next, I adjusted my spending. No more random little gifts to make her smile. No surprise dinners or last-minute Uber Eats splurges. Instead, I started meeting with a financial advisor. I boosted my 401k, rebalanced my investments, researched rental properties. She noticed the change when she brought up planning a vacation. "Let's go to Cabo," she said. "We haven't done anything big this year." I told her calmly, "I'm putting that money toward a down payment." Her eyes narrowed. "On what?" "A duplex. Something with rental income potential." She blinked. "You're buying a house?" I smiled. "An asset." She didn't say anything, but I saw it, a flicker of uncertainty. That was new. Week 10. The social pullback. I used to be all over her Instagram, reposting her selfies, commenting on her stories, responding with fire emojis like a loyal simp. I stopped. I turned off notifications, removed myself from the digital pedestal she'd built. She noticed. Quickly. "Did you see the photo I posted?" "No," I said casually. "Haven't been on IG much?" That was a lie. I was on it, just not on hers. And when she asked why I didn't react to her bikini pic from last weekend, I just shrugged. "You looked good?" I said. "But you always do." She stared at me, confused. That compliment felt off to her, too detached, too unaffected. And that's exactly what it was. Week 11. When she tested me one evening, she came out of the bedroom wearing this lace lingerie I bought her over a year ago, back when I was still eager to impress. She stood in the doorway, silhouetted by candlelight. In the past, I would have dropped everything, told her how beautiful she was, pulled her close. This time, I looked up from my book, held her gaze for a few seconds, then said, "You look amazing." Then I turned the page and kept reading. She crossed her arms. "That's it?" I looked up again. "What do you want me to say?" She was stunned. And that moment told me everything I needed to know. Her control over me had never been about love. It had been about power. And I had just shown her she didn't have it anymore. Week 12. She started trying color. She started cooking. Out of nowhere, she began preparing my favorite dishes. Chicken Alfredo, Thai curry, breakfast burritos on Saturdays, meals she never used to touch. "I thought you might be hungry," she'd say with a sweet smile. I always said thank you. Always ate, but never praised her, never acted surprised, just accepted it as the bare minimum. Because that's what it was. She started complimenting me too. "You've lost weight. Your arms look good." I nodded. "Thanks." She even suggested watching my favorite shows. "We could start that Viking series you always talk about." "Sure," I said, but I didn't gush. I didn't over-celebrate her crumbs of effort like I used to. She was trying to resecure a man who no longer needed her validation, and that terrified her. Week 13. Mirror, mirror. One night, she caught me getting ready to head out. "Where are you going?" "Dinner with colleagues." "Oh, is it just guys?" I gave a half smile. "Some are. Some aren't." She stared for a beat too long, then turned and walked away. That night, she stayed up. She never asked how dinner was, never pressed for details. But I saw the way she kept checking her phone, waiting for me to text. I didn't. I came home late, calm, relaxed, smelled faintly of bourbon and expensive cologne. She barely spoke to me the next morning. Week 14. The strategy revealed. This wasn't manipulation. It wasn't revenge. It was clarity. I stopped chasing. I stopped trying to prove my worth. And the moment I did, her entire demeanor changed. Her superiority complex dissolved the minute I stopped worshiping it. And with each passing week, I started to see her clearly, not through the lens of desire or history or shared memories, but for who she truly was. Insecure, performative, deeply afraid of losing control. She hadn't chosen me because I was enough. She chose me because I was safe. But the moment I stopped playing that role, her world started to crack. Excellent. Let's continue with. Week 15. The cracks widen. She started asking questions, not curious ones, suspicious ones. "Why are you so quiet lately? You're not acting like yourself." I just smiled and said, "Maybe I'm finally becoming myself." That shook her. I saw it, a micro-expression, just a flicker of fear behind her eyes. She used to hold the emotional high ground. Now she was slipping, and she knew it. That weekend, she started hovering, following me from room to room, sitting closer than usual on the couch, asking if I wanted to go shopping with her, something she never used to invite me to. I declined, politely. "Maybe next weekend," I said, even though I already knew I wouldn't be around. Week 16. Desperate affection. She escalated. She started waking up early to pack my lunch, turkey sandwiches with notes tucked inside. Have a great day, babe. She never used to do that. In fact, she'd roll her eyes when I packed my own. One evening, she asked if I wanted a back rub, said I looked tense. I told her I was fine. You sure? She asked. I used to be good at helping you relax. I met her gaze. Yeah, that was before. She paused. Before what? I didn't answer. That silence, it said everything. Week 17. Emotional outburst. We were having dinner, chicken piccata and mashed potatoes. She'd lit candles, poured wine. She asked if I liked the food. It's good, I said. Just good? She asked. I nodded. Something in her broke. She slammed her wine glass down, not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to make a statement. What is going on with you? I looked up from my plate, calm, composed. What do you mean? You're different, she snapped. Distant, cold. Do you even want to be with me anymore? I didn't answer right away. I let the silence sit between us like a third guest at the table. Finally, I said, I'm just not interested in proving myself anymore. Her jaw clenched. She looked like she wanted to scream, but she didn't. She just stood up and walked to the bedroom. I finished my meal in silence. Week 18, jealousy games. She tried her last old trick, making me jealous. Started mentioning guys she barely used to bring up. David at work said I looked really good in that red dress. I hadn't worn it in months. I just nodded. Yeah, it looks nice on you. She blinked, waited for a reaction. Nothing. Later that week, she accidentally left her phone unlocked next to me, with a DM notification from some guy. I didn't even check it. Just placed the phone on the counter and walked away. That was the night she started crying in the bathroom. I didn't rush in to comfort her. I let her sit with it. Week 19. The apology. It came on a Wednesday night. I was ironing a shirt for work when she walked in, looking like she hadn't slept. I owe you an apology, she said. I didn't stop what I was doing, just raised an eyebrow. I know I've said things I didn't mean, about us, about you. I kept ironing. I was immature. I didn't realize how good I had it. I guess I was scared. I finally turned to her. Scared of what? She looked down. That I didn't deserve someone like you. So I pushed you, compared you, tried to make you chase me. I said nothing. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. That's when I realized she wasn't sorry she hurt me. She was sorry she lost control of me. Week 20. Panic sets in. She started researching couples counseling, left pamphlets on the kitchen counter, shared YouTube videos about emotional reconnection in long-term relationships, suggested a weekend trip to reset our energy. I agreed, to see her squirm. We went. Rented a cabin. She lit candles, made playlists, wore the lingerie again. I went through the motions, but she knew it. She knew the warmth was gone. Do you still love me? She asked one night, lying in bed, eyes wide open. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure if I did, or if I ever truly had. I think I loved the idea of her. The potential, but not the reality. The reality was cold, manipulative, conditional, and I was done feeding that illusion. Week 21. The breakdown. One morning she broke. You're gonna leave me, aren't you? I was pouring coffee. She was standing by the fridge, arms crossed, eyes red. You don't touch me anymore. You don't look at me like you used to. You don't need me. I turned to her slowly. That's the first true thing you've said in weeks. She staggered back like I'd punched her. Why are you doing this? I'm not doing anything, I said. I just stopped doing everything I used to do. Her voice cracked. Please, I can change. And that's when it hit me. All those years I was trying to earn her love. She never lifted a finger. Now that she feared losing me, she was scrambling. Too little, too late. Week 22, she begged. It was the end of the month. I had booked a new apartment, quiet, clean, closer to the gym, closer to peace. I hadn't told her yet, but she knew something was coming. That night, I walked in from work, and she was on her knees in the living room. I'm not kidding, on her knees. Please don't leave. Her voice cracked with desperation, tears down her face, makeup streaked, hair disheveled. I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll go to therapy. I'll stop comparing. I'll be better. I promise. Please don't walk away from this. I stood there, bag over my shoulder, keys in my hand. I looked at her for a long time, and then I said, I already walked away. You just didn't notice. Perfect. Now we move into the climax. The final Friday. It was a Friday evening. I came home early, not because I missed her, but because I was done hiding my exit. Everything was packed in the car. I'd moved the essentials to my new place 2 days earlier. Tonight, I was just collecting closure. She was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, playing the perfect house fiancé. "Hey babe," she called over her shoulder, all sugar and syrup. I didn't answer. She turned, saw the expression on my face. Something in her posture changed. She wiped her hands on a towel and stepped toward me cautiously. "You're scaring me," she said quietly. I took a slow breath. Placed the spare key on the counter. Her eyes tracked it like it was a loaded weapon. "I'm leaving," I said calmly, flatly. She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not coming back here after tonight." Panic, confusion, denial, all cycling in real time across her face. "Wait, no. What are you saying? We can fix this. You said we were doing better. We went on that trip." I raised a hand, cutting her off. "That trip was for you. I needed to know what was left, and I got my answer." "No," she whispered. "You can't do this." "I can, and I am." She stepped forward, reached for my arm. I stepped back. "Don't do that," I said firmly. "Don't beg. Don't cry. Don't twist this. I love you," she shouted. I stared at her. "You love what I provided, what I represented, not me." "That's not true." "Yes, it is," I said. "You don't miss me. You miss control. You miss the guy who jumped through hoops to earn your affection. The guy who worshipped the ground you walked on because he didn't realize he deserved more." Tears welled in her eyes. I was insecure. I didn't know how to love. "I'm learning. And I hope you do," I said gently. "But you won't learn with me. Not anymore." She was shaking now, hands curled into fists, voice trembling. "So that's it after everything? You just walk away?" I stepped closer, not in anger, not in cruelty, but in finality. "You once said I was lucky. You said yes." She nodded slowly, unsure of where this was going. I smiled. "I realize now. You were lucky," I asked. Her mouth opened. No words came out. I turned, walked to the door. Before stepping out, I said one last thing. "I hope one day someone loves you the way I did, and I hope you've learned enough by then not to treat it like it's disposable." Then I left. No looking back. No regrets, just silence and freedom. Excellent. Let's finish strong. 6 months later, it's strange how quiet peace can be. No raised voices, no tension over every sentence, no second-guessing whether the person lying next to you actually respects you, just stillness, silence, strength. After I left, there were the usual attempts. She called, she texted, at first angry, accusatory, then desperate, then hollow. "Please, let's talk. Can we fix this?" I didn't mean it the way it sounded. But I never responded, not out of bitterness, out of clarity, because for the first time in years, I saw the full picture. And I knew my worth, knew what I brought to the table, knew what I would never tolerate again. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to prove anything. I just needed to walk, completely, and rebuild in silence. So I did. I refocused everything. Work, health, friendships. I started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand why I'd tolerated being undervalued for so long. I made new connections. Solid ones, no games, no guessing, just mutual energy and clarity. One night, about a month ago, I saw her again, by accident. She was at the same rooftop bar where some friends and I had gone for a birthday. She caught my eye from across the crowd. Her smile flickered, tentative, nervous. She walked toward me, carefully, like I might evaporate. "Hey," she said softly. "You look." I smiled politely. "Thanks. You're really doing well, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah, I am." There was a long pause. "I miss us," she whispered. "I think about you all the time." I looked at her, truly looked at her, and I didn't feel hate, I didn't feel love. I felt release. I simply said, "I hope you find what you're looking for." Then I walked away, not in anger, in peace. And that, my friend, is the difference between revenge and power. Revenge is loud, flashy, messy, but power is quiet. It doesn't need to scream, it just walks away and never looks back.